Welcome, everyone. We will begin the webinar on building a healthy workplace culture. I'm Melissa Joles with RDA. Steve Feltovich, President of SJF Business Consulting, is your presenter today. Steve offers insights gained through 38 years of experience in the automotive industry. He has an extensive collision repair industry background, which includes OEMs, dealerships, MSOs, independents, insurance companies, and automotive refinish companies. We would like to thank BASF, one of our supporting manufacturers, for referring Steve to RDA. The presentation will take approximately 45 minutes, and we are recording it and will post it on our private YouTube channel. If you do have questions during the webinar, you can click the question mark at the right of your screen and a control bar, and a chat box will come up. Type your question in the chat box, and Steve will answer them at the end of the presentation. Now, I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thanks, Melissa. Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to talk to you about building a healthy workplace culture, and we're going to cover a lot of ground in 45 minutes, so pay attention. This seems to be the explosive topic in Forbes magazine, Harvard Business Review. I've written several articles on it for the automotive industry as well, so we're going to recalibrate culture. All of you are independent owners, so I'm aware that you must have a pretty healthy culture already or have had one for many years in order to stave off the consolidation march, right? So you're all independents. You're all feeling good about what you built and what you've done. And I'm pretty impressed as well. So let's get started talking about how we can turn up our culture a little bit and fine tune it maybe. Take a look at it in 2020, going into 2021 in a few months from now. But culture is what's running behind the curtain of every business. Think about that. Your culture is that soft thing, the intangible culture. It's a low-cost financial investment, but it gives extremely high yield in terms of profits, customers, and talent. So it's a very important aspect of the business. Many say culture eats strategy for lunch, for breakfast, and for dinner. And there's truth to that. And we'll talk about how that takes shape and what you should consider about your culture and how to assess your own culture so it's sustainable long term. So culture is running behind the curtain of every business. It sets the stage for success and long-term performance. And we'll take a look at what makes a business culture healthy, productive, and innovative. It's how we act every day as a business. It's the sum of everyone's actions. So do we have workplace culture that we assess and we really look at? Or has it just evolved in a positive way over time and we really never paid attention to it? Today with COVID, pandemic, news, all the political news that we're bombarded by, people start to think about culture, the workplace, appreciation, safety, health, the physical environment, our lifestyle practices, and does management support that? We're going to look at all four of those critical business components around culture. What makes a business culture healthy? It all begins and ends with leadership. At the top of the tower, culture is built from the top down, not the bottom up. So you can't wish a strong culture into place, as many of you know that. It's something you have to build. Well, it's something you have to build every single day today moving forward because of competition, because of consolidation, because of fewer repairers in the market. And there'll continue to be fewer repairers as technology on automobiles decreases the demand for repairs. So it all begins and ends with leadership. We're going to talk about 7 critical components of leadership. And these are really important to focus on because these are in your wheelhouse. These are the leaders, the top managers of your company, and what's most important. Leadership must effectively communicate the vision. All the companies that I've had privilege to work with over the years around the globe, every one of them had a common denominator that was extremely successful, and that was they had an incredible culture. When I worked with Carl Sewell a number of years ago, I spent about 18 years working with the Sewell Automotive Group out of Dallas. Many of you know them. Carl built a phenomenal business on culture. He always started his day with how good do we want to be and give customers a chance to talk. And he was always willing to listen to the lowest paid person on his payroll. And he had a card in his pocket every single day. He'd walk through the dealership. He would talk to people and write notes on cards. And if he would implement something that someone said, he would give them a dinner gift card or something, some sort of reward. And he was always customer focused, internal customers as well as external customers. So your employees are your internal customer every single day. And the culture requirements have to be in place to satisfy that internal customer. So let's go on to number 2. You see, leadership must effectively communicate the vision. Number 1, develop a long-term plan. This is probably, circle that, highlight that, write that on your forehead. Most companies don't have a long-term plan. They think in the short term, make the month, make the 30 days. Let's make the numbers work in the next 45 days. They don't have a long-term plan. Big failure point right there, number 2. Create a positive workplace culture. Very easy to say, very difficult to do. It takes work. You have to roll up your sleeves and work on culture every day to create a positive workplace culture. It's not what you write on your walls. It's what the people talk about and hear in the halls. So you got to think about that. It's not a banner program. Culture's got to be deep in the heart and soul, and you got to have a desire to want to up your culture to be competitive long term and to really sustain the business. Establish the right goals for the company. The right goals. Many companies that I work with have contradicting goals. They have interdepartment goals that conflict and contradict sales goals, maybe marketing goals, maybe the warehouse goals, the inventory goals, maybe even just the driver's goals. So establish the right goals. This takes a little bit of work to align everybody on a common goal and making calibration the company's DNA. How do we collaborate together for the good of the company and our customers? At the end of the day, who writes our paycheck? The customer does. So we're all in this for the customer, and that's the number one opening statement I make with lots of organizations. I said, guess who writes your paycheck? Not this company. The customer does. We are all in this to make it better for the customer. So you're the internal customer. We have to make you happy and make you want to come to work and make you want to be here on time and make you do the highest quality work that you can. But ultimately, that has to drive customer satisfaction that writes your paycheck. Leadership must create a trust relationship with employees. Employees only trust what you do, not what you say. Keep that in mind. There's nothing as fast as the speed of trust. You can destroy an employee relationship because you broke trust, or you can cement that relationship because you continue to create trust by doing exactly what you said you would do. And then frequent, constructive, and supportive feedback. Communication is the key. Now, I've laid out these 7 critical components of leadership. Let's take a look at each one individually. Well, number 1, leadership must effectively communicate the vision. The vision should be what the company's ideal operating state should look like. What does that look like in your mind's eye of a perfect, synchronized, well-balanced company? And what would it look like if we were all in unison? A fine orchestra or symphony playing perfect music on key, all the time, without exception. What does that ideal state of that business look like? That vision has to be communicated over and over again to keep driving everyone to that true north position. Walk the talk. It's time to stand up and walk the talk. Don't sit behind the desk. Get out from behind the desk and go view the world. I used to always tell business owners it's very, very dangerous to view the world from behind the desk. Get up, get out, get in the trenches, talk to your people, go see customers. Get a feel for the real world, because if you sat behind that desk any longer than 2 weeks, you're probably getting stale. Consistent. Be consistent. Be consistent and approachable. Be approachable. Have an open door policy. Allow people to come and tell you and vent to you what's wrong and what needs fixed. And be open to that. Be humble and hungry is what I say. Sincere, genuine care and concern for the people. At the end of the day, we're only betting on people. It's all about culture. Anyone can buy equipment. Anyone can buy technology, but you can't buy someone's culture. You can't buy their people necessarily. You can get and promote some employment campaign to steal away some of your employees, but your overall culture cannot be replicated that easily. So sincere, genuine care for people. I think they're looking for this more now than ever, given the situation of the pandemic and COVID-19 and wearing masks and all the hygiene rules and regulations. So I think they're looking for genuine care and concern. They're balancing a lot of family activities. Their children's school activities have been turned upside down. It's totally opposite from the norm. So we got to have sincere, genuine care and listen to what's keeping them from being the best they can be. I always ask employees, what keeps you from being the very best you can be? Because I need to know that. That changes their whole entire emotional image of care. When you ask them, how can I help you be the very best you can be? What keeps you from that happening today? What in your life is a barrier to that successful position you want to be in? And then communicating that vision. Communicating the vision over and over again. What does that ideal state look like in my mind? Flesh it out on paper and continue to communicate that vision to the organization. But that's where you have to be careful, because you have to walk the talk. You have to make sure you not only vacuum the main center of the carpet, but you clean the corners from all the dust. So the priorities, purpose, what's the common goal? What's the common goal that we want our people to gravitate and move towards? How do we align our people with that? How do we put the right people in the right positions to perform the right work? And then process. Do we have processes? Do we have mapped out? Are they visual? Do we have standard work that we can carry out every day and not make mistakes? Do we pay attention to what our customers want? And do we make sure that we deliver on what they want, desire, and expect? If we continue to make mistakes on delivery, invoicing, or statements at the end of the month, then we're not listening to our customers' cry enough. We need to fix those things, and we need people within the organization that want to get those things right as quickly as possible. And leadership has to take a serving relationship that has an effect on facilitating human development. Because at the end of the day, as I stated, you can buy the best equipment, but so can your competitor. But you can't facilitate human development by buying it. You can't call up a manufacturer and buy human development. You have to build it from within your organization. And it's something that cannot be duplicated or easily copied. Develop a long-term plan. As I mentioned, a lot of companies, you would be surprised at the companies that I work with in in many industries. I could name a bunch of industries that I work with, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But a long-term plan doesn't exist. It's surprising to me that there are so many companies that really don't plan long-term. They don't unlock the potential and inspire performance without a long-term plan. And here's the reason. Employees feel very secure when they know there's a long-term plan. Most employees need direct supervision and they need to feel secure. That's like 97% of employees need that. There's only 3% that can take leadership roles and be successful at it, because most people need that security and need direct supervision and need to know there's a long-term plan in place and I feel safe. They want to know the company's stable, that it's reliable, and that we're doing the right things in the marketplace. And our customers are raving fans. They're not just satisfied, but they're raving about us. There was a number of years ago, there was some research done, and it holds true today as well as it did then. A satisfied customer is no longer a customer for life. A satisfied customer is a customer that you could lose at any time. You have to build raving fans, customers that love what you do, that you resell what you do to them, that they know the competition cannot deliver what you do, doing the right things. Future investments, what are we investing in? Equipment, training, OEM certifications. Are we helping our customers get the same thing? The OEM certifications in collision repair, those customers we're dealing with every day, are we fitting them up with the right paint companies that have the right approvals? Are we doing the right things for our customers so their investments in the future ensure our stability as well and ensure our sustainability and keep us in business and write our employees' paychecks? Employees want to know what's in it for them. You know, what's in it? What is in it for me? Every day they need to know. How do I fit? Make the expectations clear. How does that employee fit? How do they fit into the organization? How do they fit into your assessment of them? How do you assess them? People generally assess themselves better than they are in most cases. We assess ourselves as humans better than we are. But if we listen to someone and we get open-minded and we kind of get our pride out of the way and our ego at the door, and we park it at the door, and we listen to people, they can actually critique our areas that need improvement. And that's an exceptional opportunity to find out what we don't do so well at so we can get better. Making expectations clear, improvement objectives based on what I said, have people involved. I love to get the employees involved. Let me tell you a quick story about getting employees involved. I was working with a steel company, a vice president of quality, and we brought in lean management. And we had to go through the unions and we had to get buy-in. And it was a long process up front selling it. But, you know, we developed what we called a Kaizen proposal. And I got it out to every worker in the steel mill, on the pickling line, on the mill line. And we got everyone involved in telling us what could be fixed, what could be better, where are we missing opportunities because we're not doing so well. And it was amazing what we did with that company. That company had $39.8 million in scrap and rework on steel defective, scrap and rework defects per year. 39.8 million. We lowered that by 17.2 million in 13 months by having the employees help us fix the mill and make it better. So we communicated realistic and achievable goals. We took out the metrics and the goals and the numbers that were unrealistic because the place was broken, it was disconnected, and it was dysfunctional. So we stripped all that pressure off the employees and we said, let's go to work on what's wrong. You tell us what's wrong. Even if you don't have solutions or ideas, You tell us what you see is wrong and how it can get better. And we gave them open forum to do that. Create a positive workplace culture. As you can see, workplace stress, the silent killer of employee health productivity. 80% of the workers feel stress on their jobs. 80%, that's a big number of employees. 8 out of 10 employees feel extreme stress on their jobs. And that can come from a number of issues. So workload, you can see in the chart at the lower right-hand corner of the slide, the main causes of stress, 46% is related to their workload. Now, it could be because the workload is too heavy, because the processes in place are too cumbersome. 28% are people issues, 20% are juggling work and personal life issues, and 6% lack of job security. So looking at that, 80% of workers feel stress on the job. If we could get stress off of 8 out of 10 of our workers, you increase productivity, you lower absenteeism, you reduce the workplace accidents or mistakes. So your talent becomes the most critical resource here. And this, like I said, this is the intangible culture piece that we can't see, feel, touch, taste every day, but it's there. It's behind the curtain of our businesses. And this takes a low-cost financial investment that gives tremendous high yield. It's the organization's soul. It's the energy and the health of the entire company that we often don't pay enough attention to. So unhealthy culture is going to undermine not only the employees on the job and their stress level, it undermines the entire organization and drains leadership of their energy. It's a high emotional investment building a culture, but it's tremendous high yield in terms of profit, customers, and talent. It comes back to you 3 ways: profit, customers, and talent. And right here you see, right on the slide, your talent is the most critical resource. Hire the right people. Another big mistake, companies that I work with around the globe, they hire the wrong people. You got to hire the right people. What I always say is, look, if you need squirrels, don't hire chipmunks and try and convert them to squirrels. Hire squirrels. Don't hire chipmunks. Quit making the same mistakes over and over again. 1/3 of our lives are spent at work. We get more close to the people we work with and the management ideals than anything that takes place outside of work. So 1/3 of people's lives are committed to their jobs. And we got to pay attention to that. There's got to be some level of care and concern. They're given that much time of their life to our businesses. Focus on employee wellness, those main causes of stress. Management must set the business rules for health and safety. No one's going to set the business rules. Don't expect people to do the right thing for their own health and safety. You'd be shocked at how many collision centers and even automotive service centers I walk into where people have vehicles at unsafe positions on a floor jack only and not a safety stand under it. And I stop it right away and I get management and we have a very heart-to-heart discussion on that, because I've had employees that have lost, I have companies that have lost an employee because of a car falling off a jack. So business rules for safety, that's a top priority, I think, in the corner office of the leadership and ownership of any business. How do we keep our people healthy and safe? Enforce wearing safety protection equipment when they're in the shop in certain instances, if they're close to it, or in paint rooms where there's a lot of chemicals that could splash in eyes, so forth, using gloves properly. Make sure you take a walk around and go see what your people, what they're exposing their skin to, and make sure they're doing. Make sure lunch breaks. A lot of people work right through their lunch breaks. That's unhealthy. Make sure they take time to recharge. And make sure you create a place where people want to work. I had a business owner tell me 2 weeks ago on a conference call, he says, Steve, I'm going to tell you something. 3 years ago, before you started working for us, I couldn't get out of this place fast enough. I was actually ready to sell it. And I said, really, Wayne? He says, yeah. He says, I couldn't get out of here at the end of the day fast enough. And he says, you know what? I love coming to my own business today. After 3 years of working with you and you pushing our organization forward in the right way, I love coming to work. And I sat back and I thought about that. That's the greatest thing that I could ever do for a business owner is have him recalibrate and reposition his whole mind and desire to want to show up at his own business again and be connected to it and connected to the people. So how do we attract new talent? That's it. That's how you attract new talent. Make it a place where people want to work. I always say there's no shortage in the collision repair industry for employees. If you have a place where they want to work, those employees will spread the word for you, and you should have a list of people that want to come to work for you when someone falls out or dies or retires. And that's the way it should work if we're doing the right thing. Number 4, establish the right goals for the company. What does that look like? Well, those goals have to be aligned with the company's main purpose. The core purpose isn't make money. I'll go to an auditorium and there's 100 business people in the audience and I'll ask them, what are you in business for? And you know what? 100 hands basically go up and they say, make money, be profitable. No, you're not. That's not your sole purpose. That's a result of doing the right things in the marketplace and your customers rewarding you for it. Then they give you the opportunity to make money and be profitable. Make money and be profitable, you're not entitled to that unless you're running a good organization. A company's purpose doesn't just show up to make money unless you're the US Mint and you are printing and making money. But other than that, there's not a company that shows up on the planet just to make money. If their ideals gravitate to that and they get greedy and that's all they want to make money for, guess what? Your customers identify with that pretty quickly, and that's when they start jumping ship to someone that cares about their business and helping them be sustainable and provide the reliability and products and services they need. Be realistic with the goals you put on people. Don't just post goals without a method for your people to achieve them. I've worked with corporations, Fortune 500 companies. So many of them have unrealistic goals for their people. They have stretch goals that can never be achieved because there's so many obstacles built into their operating process that there's not an employee that could reach their goals. It's unrealistic. They're not achievable. They're actually frustrating, and the employees continue to harbor that resentment towards the company management team that posted unrealistic goals because they didn't hear from the people doing the work why it was impossible to achieve those goals based on the dysfunctional operating system that they currently had in place. Without fixing all those barriers and speed bumps, it would be impossible to achieve some of these Fortune 500 goals that they put in place. Beneficial for all. Beneficial for who? For all. That means your employees, your customers, the company, your manufacturer suppliers. It should be beneficial for all. And when it is, everyone wins and everyone's happy. And it really does work that way. Management must help to achieve it. Management just can't sit back, throw the goal out there on the floor, and expect people to line up and get it done. It doesn't work that way. Management must be involved in how do we support the employees' efforts. Toyota production system. I've worked with Toyota Lexus people for over 25 years. I still work with their consultants. Toyota is an impressive production system, the best manufacturing automobile system in the world, not by my rating or ranking, but many people have observed and critiqued and gone and looked at Toyota around the world. They have the best management processes in place. And you know what it gets down to? Two things. They have two pillars in their company. Number one, respect for people and their work and their efforts and helping them get their jobs done easier. That's their number one pillar. The second pillar that they operate from is continuous improvement. Everyone in the company is knowledgeable and taught how to continually improve their work daily. And the whole company, from the top of the tower to the bottom, janitors, floor, cleaning and housekeeping, they're improving their jobs every single day, using less material, doing it more effectively, being careful to make sure there's no on-the-job accidents. They truly respect their people. A winning business is never easy, but building a great culture makes it easier to win. So make collaboration the company's DNA. Here's Taiichi Ohno, father of the Toyota production system, and I just love this quote. I've used it for many, many years now, especially the groups that I take through the Toyota manufacturing plant in San Antonio. Why not make the work easier and more interesting so that people do not have to sweat? Unfortunately, the domestic manufacturers haven't caught on to this yet. The Toyota style is not to create results by working hard. It is a system that says there's no limit to people's creativity. People don't go to work at Toyota to work. They go there to think. And Toyota gives them the ability to think and make decisions and do the right thing. It's not about being more productive at Toyota, and it's not about just carving out waste and working people like at neck break speed. It's about having people think about their work and creating an enjoyable workplace. As a result of that, productivity goes up, waste goes down, the jobs get easier and not harder. The quality of work gets better and doesn't diminish. Employees want to contribute. They want to be a part of the solution. They want their voices heard. Too often we don't give outside customers a chance to talk, and we don't give employees a chance to voice their problems, their issues, what they see, what they like, what they don't like. Increasing employee participation in decision making and work planning. That doesn't mean that everything that they say you can implement, but there's a lot of good ideas that employees have, and we lose the creativity of employees when we don't get them into a formal environment on a regular basis and give them all an opportunity to talk about what works and what doesn't work. Foster employee creativity. How do we foster employee creativity? I was doing quite a bit of work with Swift Trucking. They're the largest trucking company in the United States. They have 22,000 tractor trailer trucks and 20,000 drivers on the road. They drive for all the major corporations. They're a huge trucking company. They're out of Phoenix, Arizona. And they went lean a number of years ago because they were so close to bankruptcy. As big as they were fast to fall, and they were going down quickly. And we brought in lean and starting in their service departments and their body shop. And we had a board there that went around the shop every morning, and it was just a board on roller wheels. And the employees would go up and they would write on it because there were two. It was split in half, and it was said, what are we doing well, and what have we improved, and what's working and what's not working. And the employees every day would write on that board, and then they'd have a 15-minute meeting. Actually, it ended up being led by the employees after a while. Management didn't lead it. They turned over the operations to the employees because they were doing such a phenomenal job. And Swift's still in business today, as close as they were to bankruptcy, and they still run the board. I have pictures of the mobile board that's in the workshops, and I love it. What are we doing well, and what aren't we doing well? We need to know what we're doing well, what's working, and where do we need improvements. And all the employees got to be involved. They were actively participating and contributing on a daily basis. People want the voice in that solution. Open communications, as I just mentioned. I just gave you a story of how it worked at Swift Trucking. And pairing the work up with the right people. If you have people that don't like behind the counter work, then don't force them to be behind the counter. If they're exceptionally good at it and they hate it, have them train someone else to be exceptionally good at it that wants to be there, and maybe reposition them. Recalibrate your culture a little bit. Look at your people, look at their qualities, look at the asset value of where they might be positioned differently. If you don't change anything, you're going to get what? The same as what you got before? No, not moving forward. If you don't change anything today, you're not even going to get what you got before. It's going to slide down the other side of the mountain quickly. Leadership must create trust with employees. Number 6, trust. I mentioned this already. Nothing is as fast as the speed of trust. Number 1, keep your word and follow through with your actions. No excuses, just actions. What I always say is we have 101 excuses in business why it won't work, but there's not one good reason. And we move forward. Critical for business transformation. It's critical for business transformation. What does that mean? If we're going to transform and up our culture a little bit and reshape it, recalibrate it so we're out of the gate in 2021 a different company, you must keep your word and follow through with your actions. Develop a timeline. If the timeline falls short, that's not to be embarrassed by. Just make sure you communicate why it fell short and the new date in which you'll proceed forward. Communication, open communication is the key to building trust. Must have for innovation to take place. You have to have trust in a company for innovation to take place. Otherwise, people will hold those cards close to their chest and they won't reveal them because they believe that's job security. So trust for innovation has to be cemented strongly in place for people to feel free to innovate and share ideas of growth rather than hold them for their own security. Management must spend time on the front lines. As I mentioned before, it's dangerous to view the world from behind your desk. So get out and get on the front lines and take time out. If you're inundated with paper, it's time to get away from that and get on the front lines, because I always say, you know what? It isn't the paper that produces profits. The process drives the financials. So you have to get out there where the process is taking place every day if you want to change the financials. You can't change them by looking at the dashboard of your business. You already know where the gauges are. Get out into the operations under the hood of that business and see how it's running. Engaged employees generally have more trust for the organization and management. And you can see engaged cultures. Look at the graph at the bottom of this slide. Higher productivity by 21%, lower turnover by 65%, higher profitability by 22%. How would you like to just have 22% higher profitability than you currently have? It's just by having engaged cultures, by doing the right things in terms of building up the people to do the work better and feel more secure about their work and to be happy to come to work every day. You can reap the benefits of what engaged cultures have. Number 7, the last critical leadership component that we listed on the slide originally. Number 7, frequent, instructive, and supportive feedback. Frequent, instructive, and supportive feedback. And I've said frequent many times because I want you to think about frequent. What's frequent? One company told me they hadn't met with their people for over a year. Wow. Another company over a year and a half. They never got their people in a meeting where they told them what the vision is, where the company sits, where we're going, what our customers think of us, where the competitors are failing, where we're failing, where we can do better, where we're winning, where we're losing. Wow, to lose that opportunity of not being in front of your people frequently and provide constructive but supportive feedback, and communication's the key, communicating that to all people involved. You got to create that idea platform. I always said, put out these Kaizen proposals. That's what we did at the steel mill that I talked about. We gave them a simple white page form. It didn't have anything that they had to report on. It was just all white. There were a couple of things at the top that they ticked the box, whether it was safety related, process related, quality related, raw material related, but that was it. It was just a white blank sheet of paper. It said Kaizen proposal, and it was an idea platform. The idea was for people to generate ideas on how to make the company, the process better, how to satisfy more customers, and how to make sure that the internal communications are sound and are frequent and are flowing. Create a learning atmosphere. Are we learning from what we do? Or have we gotten to that plateau where we've learned everything we need to know about the business? We know all about distribution to the automotive business and manufacturing, and we're done. We're at that plateau. We're the best we can be. Well, if you are, congratulations. But it all starts with how good you want to be. If you want to be as good as you currently are, then this wouldn't make any sense to you. Investing in the culture will make no sense to you if you believe you're as good as you want to be and that you're at the plateau. You can't get any better. And that's fine if you made that decision. Improvement ideas. What works well? What does not work well? I told you the story of Swift Trucking. They have that sign, mobile sign, mobile whiteboard actually, and it floats around the shop. What works well? What does not work well? And what do you think? You cannot ask your employees or customers a better question than what do you think of us? What do you think we're doing well? What do you think we're not doing well? There's not a better question. In all my 27 years of consulting all types of businesses, I still cannot come up with a better question to ask any employee than what do you think? Every time I go out there and interview an employee in a business, a factory, wherever it is in this country, Canada, South America, or the UK, when I ask them, what do you think? It's amazing the information and notes that I take while they're talking. Group and individual feedback. Group and sometimes individual feedback. I was talking to Melissa before we came on live, and I said, a lot of times people don't want to be singled out in a group, and they don't want to voice their opinions in a group. And I identify with that pretty quickly, especially if it's in a group environment and I'm so approachable, or I'll actually buddy up to that program and befriend them a little bit after the program. I'll befriend that person and I'll get that individual feedback, and they feel so good about giving it to me. But I sensed, I read their body language. They will not speak up in front of this group. So I had to individually, privately have a phenomenal conversation with them, which in most cases that was just that. When I got that individual in a private setting where they trusted me and they felt comfortable and they felt free to communicate to me what they really wanted to talk about, it was amazing what they talked about. And many times I've often said to them, I just wish you would have said this in front of the group. It's incredible what you came up with. But they just didn't have that confidence or backbone to do it. So keep in mind, there are many individuals are like that. So respect that and take them privately, and anything that they would tell you that is confidential, make sure that you don't let that get out. Communication. Once again, I'll repeat that is the key to building culture, and that has to come from the top. It's not going to come from the bottom up. So in the changing world, culture does matter. Without culture, everything else cannot work. You can have the best strategy in the world. and it can't work unless you have people that be able to execute on that. And that's all about the behaviors. The sum of the behaviors of your culture have to execute on your strategy. So without culture, everything else cannot work. It's a people business. Every day we wake up in the morning and we're going to bet on our people to deliver the right results. The process helps us as well. We can't be dependent on one single superstar in our organization. You got to create a process around that one single superstar. If he's a single superstar or she's a single superstar, then make sure you're mapping their process and starting to train people to your high performers process. Get that in place, get it on paper, and train people to it, because you can't have superstars without a superstar process in place in case they fall out. Okay, we're at the end, and we finished just about on time, right, Melissa?
Sure did.
Do we have any questions?
We do not, but I will send your information to everybody who's on the call today, and you can contact Steve directly if you do want to follow up and have questions. Feel free to do that. And I will also send everybody a copy of this presentation. So with that, thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for past webinars, and we appreciate your comments and your thumbs up if you like it. Thank you, and we'll be in touch with future training opportunities. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Melissa.